And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the 2025 RSL Rival StarCraft League Season 3 Playoffs. Day number 1 co-stream. I'm of course just VIP. With me, I'm joined by these players, joined by the people in the chat, and by my plushies as well. Welcome, welcome, one and all. And I do apologize for being a little bit late. Originally, this event was scheduled to begin in an hour. It was meant to begin, I said an hour, really, in around 30 minutes. So it was meant to start in 30 minutes, but I do apologize because it started 2 hours earlier, and I only just noticed. I was having some food, I was getting some dinner, I was getting ready. I looked over, it was like, hold on, something's wrong here. Like, why is the stream live already? And the event has been going on since almost an hour and a half ago at this point. So Hero versus Down already concluded, and we are jumping in mid-series into Reynor versus Classic. We're currently tied up 2-2. I do apologize, I wasn't able to get an eye and get a read on what occurred in the first 4 games as we just went live. But we're here and we're about to jump into the ace match. I had to get a big shout out to Sort of, big shout out to our lovely people over on the casting couch. Let me just quickly switch our scenes over. As you can see here before you, we are co-streaming today, so that means that we will have the mainstream audio in the background and adding what we can as well. Of course, Sort of is a Zerg expert himself. He's a little bit soft-spoken, he's very analytical, but again, he comes in with a lot of knowledge, so he's going to be able to provide a lot of that and a lot of analysis coming into a Reynor series, and we'll see if Reynor can bring it back. We just wrapped up with our game on Persephone, I believe. I'm a little bit shocked that Persephone is in the tournament map pool. It looks like they chose not to update their map pool coming into the playoffs. That is a bit of a feels bad, man, considering the fact that we do have a new, fresh ladder map pool at this point. But in the end, Classic did take the game, and now we're getting ready for the ace match to determine who will take the series between Reynor and Classic. We're tied up 2-2. When it comes to the game on Persephone, Classic went for an early charge timing, went for early charge, not blink, so went for an earlier charge timing with no +1, I believe Forge was omitted, with an Archon timing, and Reynor, he didn't have roaches, he didn't have banelings either. He went for a Ling Queen defense, and Reynor, he was overwhelmed. He was overwhelmed trying to go into Ling Queen Hydra, and he was shut down. I say Ling Queen Hydra, apparently after he survived the first wave, he was going Ling Queen Ultra, and that means there was an extended period of time where he was vulnerable to these Archon and charge lot timing attacks. So a lot of greed, I would say, out of Reynor, and now we're jumping into the ace match.
A more kind of standard map that we all know and love, been in the map pool for quite a long time now.
Yeah, and surely this is the map where they will actually get to see a standard game.
It's got to happen once, right?
Yeah.
Apparently they haven't
played the normal stuff once, right?
I was actually really looking forward to seeing a normal standard map game between these two, because like with this new patch, like the players will experiment and they will find new twists and they'll adjust their playstyles a little bit. Just to see like, okay, what do you guys actually think about this patch? Like, tell us through your gameplay.
Right.
But they're keeping it very exciting for us.
So apparently, from what they're saying, there have been no standard games so far. Apparently, Classic played standard once. And again, we spoke about how last game Classic went for an early charge timing, so it was able to shut down Reynor early. But now we're leading into Tokamak. I would say that when it comes to the likelihood of there being a standard game, it is higher here on Tokamak. So this is where we most likely will slow the game down, or at least Classic wants to slow the game down. It's going to be up to Reynor to stop him. Now, there are multiple ways of doing so. I would say all-ins are weaker on Tokamak, so we shouldn't see a 3-base all-in, but we could see Reynor go into Spire play, into Muta play, for example. That is going to be more viable.
And we have the gas pool follow-up as well.
Yep, just standard Nexus timing coming down here from Classic and into the Cybercore. It's all usual business. Scouting a little bit here for... I'm not sure if it's
yeah, they're kind of getting into it so far. Standard openers, Hatch gas pool out of Reynor, Classic scouting as well. From here, we're settling into a standard opener, and we'll wait for the tech of choice, right? It should be a Stargate opener out of Classic, but from there, do we go into early charge? Do we go into glaives? Do we go into early blink? Or do we go for a standard build instead, as Classic does hide his probe towards the left-hand side?
It could also be like, he goes for some like glaive and proxies a gateway or something. And the timing for this probe going out is he wants the probe to go out before the Overlord gets to his natural, right? So he doesn't actually see the probe leave.
Yeah, dude, if the Overlord sees that probe, the Lings will just find it, right?
And because he didn't scout this game, right? Or maybe he did scout, so this is the second probe going out. So the one tell here that Reynor could maybe pick up on is that the Cybercore is like maybe 2 seconds late. That's like the only...
Oh, proxy Stargate, okay.
If you notice that, that's sick.
So we'll see if Reynor actually knows to pick up on that, or if it just... Because he hasn't really been scouting much for proxies this series, right? But you can just get this like sense that like, oh, something is off with the timings just a little bit, and then you can maybe, okay, I'm going to scout around the map. And
I feel like we don't see Classic proxy too much in this matchup. I'm trying to think about the last time I saw him do it, and
yes, so sort of he's discussing about how there is a very, very slight tell, but it's difficult to really get a read on whether or not there's something wrong with the build of Classic. I would say there's a very low chance that Reynor did notice, so this is going to get quite a bit done. Basically what this means is that the Oracle is going to hit earlier than normal, and in this level of ZVP, you do want to delay your spores until just the moment that the Oracles arrive, essentially, because you want to be as efficient as possible with your worker mining. So with the Oracle arriving sooner than normal, the spores shouldn't be ready in time. Now, Queens are going to be building up, that is true. Whether they're in position, whether we can deny the Oracle, drones are going to go down. So far, there's 3
right now
Queens.
there's no spore on the way at all. I'm curious if he's going to wait for 2 or just send
Again, the spore shouldn't begin until around 3:30.
hit as quick as possible.
Yeah, like you would definitely just send the first one. If you're gonna wait for 2, you might as well make the Stargate at home, right? And just
True, yeah.
just save it up because the surprise factor will be the same. Whereas here, the surprise factor is a lot earlier.
Gets in.
Oh, and there's no spore. Like we said, these drones starting to fall. They all try and
You're
get
getting
out
1,
of
2,
this
3, 4
natural.
drone kills. There were 5 drones, even 6. Oh my god.
6 drones.
7.
Huge damage here.
8.
He's
Oh,
gotta
too
keep the
good.
Oracle alive, though.
Classic.
That's a lot of damage. And Reynor
Oh
immediately
my
realizing
god.
that, okay, that's Oracle. It's way too quick. Immediately looks for the Stargate.
Second Oracle
and
whoops.
finds it, but second Oracle is already out, which is basically all he really wants from the Stargate at this point in the game, right? So he's okay with losing this now. He got 8 drones for it.
And look at this, Twilight Council before third base. So Classic is going to come in into early tech. Still no spore at the natural. Gets 2 more drones.
Dive in, get a couple more drones. Will lose some of his HP, but can go back and regen those shields. 10 drones going down total. I think you take that trade any day as Classic.
So again, with that early Twilight Council, is it going to be Glaives? Is it going to be Blink? It should be one of the 2. Technically, it could be early charge as well. We already saw that last game.
The third
Glaives.
is a little
Let's
bit
go.
late for Classic.
Right.
So that's something that Reynor could pick up on. That's like, oh, there's a very fast Twilight because the third is late. But he also sees all these adepts. So we'll see if he actually picks up on that.
Yeah, I think if you see a delayed third base as well as 4 adepts, that's already a big tell. But if he's able to see even 1 more,
they're talking about the tells. I would say that seeing 4 adepts here isn't too much of a tell. I mean, maybe, yeah. I'll say it'd be standard to see 3 adepts because you'd have 2 at the base and 1 at the natural mineral line. But seeing 2 extra, I don't think is really too much of a really distinction of what's going on. Obviously, the later third base is much more of a tell that something is a little bit off. So Reynor, he can notice that, and he's going for a safety roach one, thankfully.
Correct time. And should be able to deal with it as long as he has.
Oh, miscontrol, miss rally.
Okay, slight miss micro there from Classic. 1 Oracle finally going down. I think you at least want to keep 1 of those alive just to, you know, revelate stuff.
That's actually a big win there for Reynor. Like, this will weaken the overall support that the adepts are going to be getting.
Wall this base off completely. If we see another building go down, only 1 roach in production, another coming now. You need a decent
Stream
number of
quality,
roaches
so
to fight this head on.
I'll try to fix that.
Line, for example. If they get into the mineral line, for example.
But we are reliant on the quality of the YouTube stream.
Should be up, but the problem here for Reynor is like the damage he took earlier has just led him to him have
it looks better here. Looks a little bit better.
And the Shade finishes in here in a good position.
Nice Shade. Lings that get annihilated. Roaches are popping out as we speak. So far, there's only 2 roaches though.
It's
not going to be enough.
To make sure that he defends it cleanly because.
Oh, he doesn't even commit to the Shade. Realizing he's winning this fight, he doesn't need to leave. The drones
it gets 5 drones. Adepts are still healthy. They're going to be shading towards the natural.
Only Queen, so they have to run while this shade.
Oh, shading back into the third.
Back in as the drones return.
Yeah, getting another 8-9 drones here. It's already super good for Classic. He's getting an Immortal behind us, but no other transition. Sometimes you'll see like Protoss going to Blink behind us and like just going to more like a mass gateway style as the follow-up. In this case, he's just going Immortal and he's putting down 3 more gateways with no other tech, so it kind of looks like he's going to do something like a Sentry Immortal Adept follow-up all in here as well.
Yeah, it's an all-in.
Yeah, that push could be so...
So, as sort of is saying, like, if you want to go into a macro game from here, you throw down a Forge +1 and Blink, and you get into a heavy gateway composition. But as he pointed out, it's a late Forge, early Immortal production, more gateways, no Blink, which means it should be a 3-base all-in here from Classic, building up to around 2-3 Immortals, then Mass Adept with Sentries, with Force Fields, and then just send it across the map. Reynor is hurting right now. Reynor needs something to go his way, like a run by, a counterattack, something to delay the push. It's going to be a tough hold for Reynor.
But actually, the Hydras is not going to be super useful here versus a potential Immortal Sentry Adept follow-up all in, right?
Yeah, I mean, if they all get force fielded, what are you going to do?
Yeah, and even the Adept shading on top of the Hydras could be disastrous depending on the position they're in. Like, ideally, he would just be making Roach Ravager. Right?
Yeah.
That would be the ideal composition to
Like, just emphasizing what sort of just mentioned here, which is really important, is that against a Immortal Sentry based all in, and it's going to be Immortal Sentry Adept, Ravagers are a must to deal with those force fields. Because Reynor is going into Roach Hydra, and he's spending his gas on Hydra instead of Ravagers, that means that force field is going to be even more effective here. You can see one Ravager morphing in, only one Ravager.
Going to be warping in more gateway units to support this, but there's going to be a
So here the Hydras are hurting Reynor more than helping, because they could have all been a Ravager instead.
Super crucial here for Reynor. Like you need a solid like 3-4 Ravagers at least to be able to not get bullied by the force fields, right?
Right.
So that's the biggest thing to look for. But the thing is, like, he doesn't really want to make links because there is Glaive Adepts, right? You kind of want a big ball of just Roach Ravager with some links in there. So we'll see. He has 3 Ravagers now, which is more than good enough, and he's also supplementing with Hydras. So this is going to be a pretty close defense, I think.
Yeah, Classic actually.
Yeah, we do have 2 more Ravagers morphing in, so 3 in total. Okay.
Some initial force fields.
So far, so good.
Cleared out. I don't think he got too much for those, but he has plenty of energy. There's plenty more where that came from. The
Yeah, he's moving in.
Shooting right now, a couple of them in the back.
Hydra stuck in the back line.
But it actually looks like Reynor has.
Oh my god, the force fields are brutal. Oh my god. Jesus.
The low Ravager count can't deal with them.
That was the majority of Hydras going down.
Yeah,
There's 9 Hydras left.
A lot of force builds there. But looking at the supplies, I guess the defender here, when you're defending with Roach Ravager, if the supply is even, it's usually a very bad sign. And there's a lot of adepts here.
Yeah, dude, so many adepts. These Lings going to get absolutely shredded before they can even engage onto this Protoss army.
Yeah, again, the force fields are bullying back the army. Lings are being thrown away. Queens are exposed.
Or take out the War Prism. He's actually got the supply advantage right now, although I don't know. There's more warp-ins. This is so hard to call right now.
Yeah, the adepts are obviously like not great when they don't get to actually attack, or to get stuck on each other like roaches do, right? But it's actually a
Oh god, the Immortals are going to town. Oh my god.
It's a very close fight. It looks like Reynor just barely has it.
Yeah, the sentries
gets one Immortal. He gets one. The Wiles
going down on that War
Oh
Prism.
my
Not enough
god.
to kill it though, but it looks like Reynor is somehow going to hold this. Sort of, he's pushing back the army. The Immortals have to be picked up and shipped out of there.
Yeah, now this is a very, very bad situation for Classic. Like, he can fall back and, he's getting Templar Archives, he's getting...
So, as we were mentioning before, this was an all-in. Like, this was an all-in out of Classic. This had to end the game. Because this didn't end the game, he's falling behind tech-wise, and his army supply here is becoming worse over time. Where he's stuck with Adepts, which don't scale well into a longer game. He's getting +2, he's getting a Templar Archives, which is all late, getting into later Storm, and now Classic's goal should be to turtle up. When it comes to Reynor's defense there, as sort of was pointing out, we had a lot of Adepts and Immortals that weren't actually able to engage fully, and you could argue that Classic was maybe being a little bit wasteful with his force fields. A lot of force fields are being thrown down, whereas we could have been a little bit more efficient with that to make use of the NG a little bit in a more efficient manner, of course, to deal with that with the Roach Hydra composition. So a very impressive defense here by Reynor, and Classic is falling behind.
No answers to the lurkers except for the Immortals and some Storm, which is on paper very good, but when the numbers look like this, as they do right now, it's very hard to make it work, I think, for the Protoss player here.
Yeah, Reynor kind of turned in a bit of a disaster of an early game with the Adept timing that he didn't know was coming into what looks like a very strong position here in the mid game. We do see the 4th base going down for Classic. He's continuing to...
Yeah, again, like Reynor, he's outscaling Classic here, getting into lurkers. As sort of pointed out here, going like the composition overall for Classic is quite good, but because of the delayed 4th base and because of the delayed economy, the size there isn't what it needs to be. So the composition is good, but the quantity just is not there, and Reynor's about to max out.
Not until lurker range is done, at least. He wants to maybe just take some map control to make sure that once I actually have my lurkers and my upgrade, I can like just start sieging you right away. I don't have to wait to like get across the map.
Although saying that, he's actually moving in here. This Protoss
Yeah,
army
lurkers, they rotate. Oh, the heads up work! Oh my god!
So much splash damage.
They just pop off with the Immortals.
Storm, but the lurkers will reposition. I think that base may just be forfeit. There's no way to engage into all those lurkers. A little kind of run by of Adepts is dealt with, and the base goes down.
Yeah, it was always going to be a very hard defense for Classic, but with the move command there, it just makes everything that much more tricky.
Yeah, indeed. And now
he messed up. He move commanded into the lurkers. Lurkers got like what 2 extra full volleys off as well, and Classic, he cannot maintain a 4th base.
Classic's got a best chance to get a trade, but this is so many lurkers, dude. How do you deal with this?
Yeah, like as the Protoss player here, like even though you don't really want to, you kind of have to try to push him out on the map a little bit, right? Because you want some space between his army and your base, so you can actually buy time and be in position, and not let the lurkers actually siege up on your bases. So he's trying his best to actually get out on the map here.
Yeah, there's just so much Zerg right now, though. Lurkers here. Ling's forcing all these storms to come out and kind of be wasted while the Lurkers run.
Yeah, nice round of the Immortals. Very nice round.
Once they get on top of this Nexus, there's no way to stop them. And GG is called. Reynor takes the second game of the series. It went to game 5. It went down to the wire, but he clutches it out. Man, I was worried for him in that game 5 after the Adept, the way that game began. But what a rally by him to get to a somewhat normal.
What is with the classical music?
And then eventually transition into those Lurkers.
Yeah, very.
Yeah, we got the brass in the background.
Yeah.
Classic. Like this was a very exciting series. I was played out very differently from what I thought going into it.
Dude, I thought it was going to be like 5 late games because Classic would never attack, and then Reynor would probably all in and like once or twice to mix it up. But no, what a wild series of games, dude. We had Swarm hosts. We had Charge Lot basically every game from Classic, apart from the Adept all in. Completely wild builds, honestly.
Yeah, Classic really. I mean, I think this is one of his strengths, but in this case, he also just the timings didn't quite work out, right? Like the initial timings kind of all worked decently, but then he always went for like this follow-up timing. Even in the game on Winter Madness, right, where he had the initial charge out timing and then he went for the follow-up like Storm charge out Archon timing, where he kind of got caught up with that position, right? So it's a very interesting series, really unique series.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot to dissect there, what they're discussing here. So let's just, as they're getting ready for the next series, Reynor, he wins it 3-2. Congratulations to Reynor, does advance on into the next round to face up against Hero. I believe that's going to be in tomorrow's broadcast. But they're talking a lot about being a little bit surprised about how Classic approached the matchup. I would agree, especially considering the map pool that they're playing on. If this was on the current ladder map pool, it would make sense. We've been speaking about this recently, but ZVP has had a bit of a shift when it comes to the strength of Zerg. The reasoning for this is because in the new map pool, it is now more difficult for Protoss players to turtle. It is more difficult. There are a couple of maps that do favor that kind of style, a couple of them. I'm referring to maps like Winter Madness, referring to maps like White Rabbit, which are better, but to be honest, they pale in comparison to Tokamak, right? Tokamak, Incorporeal, and Maganatha, those 3 maps that I just mentioned, are by far larger, more macro-heavy, and more defensive than almost any map in the new map pool. So because that, we've seen a shift, we've seen a change, we've seen Protoss players be more aggressive. So this feels like, well, this series almost feels like maybe a byproduct of the map pool that they're using in this tournament, right? Like, tournaments, they no longer use Tokamak, they no longer use Maganatha, they no longer use Persephone. These maps from the previous map pool, which did facilitate for a different style of play, which did favor this more defensive turtle heavy play instead. 100% did favor that kind of style. And because the meta has shifted with the new map pool, now we see Classic being more aggressive on these older maps, which I would say is working against the strengths of the maps themselves. I'm surprised that he did not play more standard on Tokamak. I feel like Tokamak, you want to play standard. It's difficult to be aggressive. The rush distance background is longer. The rotations between your bases is shorter as well. It is an easier defense for Reynor. It would be an easier defense for Classic as well if you were to get into that kind of like more defensive and mid-game setup. Likewise, I would say that Classic has the best late game PvZ in the world, so for him not to leverage that strength is a little bit surprising here. So at least, I mean, again, we didn't get to see the early games. I'm just kind of basing this off of what sort of and what they just mentioned in the chat, or what they just mentioned on the cast. How in general Classic did take a very different and surprising approach. I would assume that again, that's just because of how the meta has shifted and how his playstyle has changed in the new map pool in the new season. But that's not really reflected in this tournament map pool, unfortunately. Sturgeon, that's it. My apologies. I was trying to remember his name. So yeah, it's interesting that RSL is incorporating some of the older maps. I'm not too fond of it. I'm not really too fond of utilizing that, but you know, it's at the end of the day, it's their decision with how they want to make their map pool and how they want to, you know, approach the playoffs. For now, they're going to be going on a break, and I believe we're going to be back soon here with Maru versus Shin in our TvZ. So we'll see you guys soon after the break. I'm assuming they're going on a break.